Hi, everybody. This is Crystal Proxmeyer of Oakland County Times. We're here today with Nadine Hatten, who is running for Oakland County Circuit Court Judge. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for being with us today. Can you tell us why you've decided to run?
Yes, I currently am employed as a juvenile referee at the court. A juvenile referee is a quasi-judicial position. And in that position as a juvenile referee, I handle cases involving children, um, families in crisis, juvenile delinquency matters, child neglect matters, and domestic matters. So I'm already doing the job as a referee. But more importantly, is that when I'm handling those cases, I engage with people who are dealing with, who present themselves and deal with a lot of emotions, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of fear of the court. And it not only working as a juvenile referee, but my background as a teacher, my background as a private defense attorney, as a district court magistrate, a special prosecutor for DHHS, have all helped me prepare me to serve families efficiently and fairly. And this is a family court seat. So what I'm currently doing, I will continue to do. And you know, the family court seat deserves someone who's committed to families, who's committed to children, who is not looking to transition from the family bench to another seat. This is my commitment. My commitment to children and families has been clear for the 15 years that I've been a teacher, the 16 years that I've been a practicing attorney. I've handled juvenile neglect matters as an attorney. I was a lawyer guardian at Lightum. So this is a natural progression for me, is to continue to serve the children and families of Oakland County, to continue to make certain that the children and families of Oakland County um, are provided with tools and resources to make healthy decisions, to continue to make certain that when those families appear before us in some of the worst or the most stressful um, conditions or situations, that they're met with someone who's going to conduct fair hearings, make certain that their due process rights are preserved. So I'm going. I am running to be your next Oakland County Circuit Court judge, to make certain that the work that I'm doing continues, and that the children and families of Oakland County have the best judicial person, or sitting the best judge sitting on the bench to assist them during difficult and challenging times.
Can you tell us a bit more about your professional experience and the skills you bring to the table?
Well, my professional experience, as I've indicated, I'm a former high school teacher, a private defense attorney. I was in private practice for 12 plus years. I remained in private practice until I assumed the position of referee. I was a special prosecutor, a district court magistrate. As a district court magistrate, I heard cases for the judge. I was appointed to that case. I was also, I have my certificate in civil mediation, so I handled some civil mediation cases. And as a judge, my temperament in dealing with individuals, again, who appear before the court, who are nervous, who are afraid, who are angry, who are anxious, is to slow the process down, allow them to have their day in court, allow them to have their voices heard, allow them to ask questions, so that when they leave the hearing, they have an understanding of what occurred. It's important that people know that as a juvenile referee, this is a quasi judicial position, which means that I was hired by the court to conduct or perform some of the same duties as a judge, which means that I accept pleas, I preside over trials, I follow a case from the beginning to the end, so I maintain the case. I conduct reviews for the families. So, yes.
Why did you decide to go into the legal profession?
Well, this is something that I've wanted to do since I was a young child, of age 4, but it became even more pronounced, or more, the draw to law became more pronounced when I was a teacher. And when I was teaching, I was also a union steward and advocating for my students as a teacher, advocating for teachers as the union steward. And now I am a part of the UAW Local 889 at the court. But um, being a going into law was a natural progression. Having seen children in the classroom who had lost parents or who struggled with academics or who were truant. And that's a lot of the things that I handle now on this side of the law. I also went into law because I want to help people. It's very important to me. And so some of the things that I engaged in as a teacher, I continue to engage in now. For example, as a teacher, we often did things outside of the classroom or provided support for students. For example, we may have purchased kids clothes or made certain that they had food to eat or helped them wash their clothes. As a referee, and I will continue this as a judge, I have attended graduations for kids who have no parents. I've supported them in graduation. One example is a young man who is on my docket. His mother is deceased. His father is unknown. His grandfather terminated guardianship, and he graduated from Southfield A&T maybe about 3 weeks ago. And I promised him that I would be there. The people who attended his graduation, I attended as the referee assigned to the case. His attorney attended, his CASA attended, and one of the people from the residential placement where he was. That meant so much to him. And he shared with me, Referee Hatten, if it had not been for you, I would not have graduated. But he would have graduated because my expectations were that he would graduate. So those are some of the reasons that I've also chosen to practice law or has drawn me to law, is to continue to help people when they're in need, whether it's in education. Also, I am a forever educator. So even as a referee and even as an attorney, I continue to educate people. I work with CASA to train the new CASA volunteers. I've worked with DHHS to allow new DHHS workers to attend hearings in my hearing room, to observe the process and ask questions so that they're more comfortable when they arrive to court and they're more comfortable in executing their duties and responsibilities. So it's just a natural progression for me.
What are you most proud of in your career so far?
Well, what I'm most proud of in my career so far is my work with children. And that's been recognized. When I was a teacher, I was awarded Teacher of the Year. As an attorney, I was awarded the Sandra Silver Award for my work with children and families from the Oakland County Circuit Court bench, the very bench that I work for as a referee, and the very bench that I am asking the citizens of Oakland County to vote for. So that is my pride. That is my passion. That is my commitment. Again, is making certain that children have the tools and the resources to make healthy decisions, that parents have the tools and the resources to make decisions to address the issues that cause them to come before the court. And that also requires me, as I did as a teacher and again as a referee, and I will continue as the next Oakland County Circuit Court judge, to work with the stakeholders to make certain that there are programs. For example, working with Friend of the Court, working with CASA, working with youth assistance, working with the law enforcement, making certain that we work with Oakland schools and DHHS to have programs to address the needs that our families have.
What are some ways that you've been involved in the community?
Well, public service is big for me. And again, oftentimes people forget public service is teaching. Again, I taught for 15 years in Detroit public schools. Public service continues to be important. I've touched on it just a moment ago, where I work with CASA and train the new volunteers. I work with DHHS and training, or some not training for DHHS, but allowing some of the new workers to come in and observe. Public service is also dear to me. Again, my public service looks different than the traditional public service where it's sitting on committees. My public service to me is also going into the community, reading to children. I've read to the elementary kids. As I've shared with you and shared with the viewers, um, attending graduations. I've attended the graduation here in Michigan and Southfield A&T. I've also had the opportunity, I don't know if you're familiar or if the voters are familiar with Boys Town. Boys Town is located in Omaha, Nebraska. I had the opportunity to travel to Omaha, Nebraska to attend the graduation of a young person that we have out there. So my community presence and my public service looks different. It's not just let me serve. I want to serve on a committee. I want to be a on the board of a committee. My community service is beyond the bench, is going into the community and being with the community. Also, cleaning up parks and making certain that we keep our community beautiful and safe.
What do you think will be the hardest part about being a judge?
The most challenging part or difficult part about being a judge is I'm going to say is that dealing with the time constraints that everyone thinks that you are limited to. That when a case is called, you have to have a case heard within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That to me, and I don't prescribe to that now as a referee. I allow every family the appropriate or adequate amount of time to address the issues again that cause them to be before the court or to allow their attorney to make the appropriate argument, to allow the parents or the children to ask questions so that they feel that they've been fully heard. Um, One of the other challenges is I know that we deal with poverty, mental health concerns, housing instability, substance abuse, and overall a lack of access to resources. So even though we at Oakland County, we do a great job. The judges do a great, current judges do a great job. The current referees, including myself with the juvenile bench and on the front of the court, we do a great job with the resources that we have. But it's also continuing to connect with those stakeholders to create the specific programs that the community needs. For example, we just created a truancy task force where I am the lead referee on that matter. And we've discovered that the truancy is just not about a young person not going to school. There's several issues there. There is um, housing insecurity or instability. There's substance abuse and poverty. And so identifying those issues and helping the families address those issues.
How will you know that you're doing a good job as a judge?
Well, I thank you for asking that question. That's a question that's very important to me. Oftentimes, at the end of some of my hearings, I will ask parents within the presence of their attorney, do you feel that you were treated with dignity and respect? Do you feel that you were heard? And sometimes it takes them by surprise. They're not used to someone asking them that. Another way that I know that I have made a difference in individuals' lives is that the young people on my delinquency docket, they write me letters. Or they'll share with their caseworker, and the caseworker will email me and say that this young person said that they knew that you cared about them. Or I'll see the individuals in the community and they approach me or communicate with me and they'll say, thank you for the parent agency class. Thank you for being there and assisting my family. Thank you for the tools and resources. Thank you for hearing my voice.
In this race, there is some competition for the seat. Why should the voters pick you?
I'm asking the voters to research each candidate and make the decision that's best for them and the decision that's best for the citizens of Oakland County. I am the best candidate because I'm currently doing the job. I am the best candidate because I have the history, I have the compassion for the families and for children, and I am committed to the seat, meaning I'm committed to being a family court judge. Again, I've said this before and it bears repeating. I'm not asking the people to vote me in as judge, only to leave the family bench to ascend or transfer to another bench. I am committed to the children. I am committed to the families of Oakland County. They deserve someone who's vested in their life. They deserve someone who's vested in making certain that they have that they have again, and I keep saying the tools and the resources, but someone who's going to give them, make certain that they hear them and that they see them and that they recognize the issues that they are facing. Not someone who is waiting or biding their time to transfer to another bench. They need someone who is already doing the job, that's familiar with this and not learning on the job. I everyone, or you'll hear other candidates say, "Oh, I can start day one." I'm doing the work, so day one has already started for me. So it would be a continuation of servicing the families, and so the people should vote for me or elect me because of my compassion, my dedication, and um, my my dedication, my commitment to the family court.
If voters want more information about you and your campaign, where can they go?
They can Google my name, Nadine Hatten, and several platforms will come up, such as Instagram, and Instagram. And then also they can visit my website at nadinehatton4judge.com to learn more information about me, about my campaign.
Perfect. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. And, I want to leave you and the voters with this. And it is a quote by Frederick Douglass that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. So we need to put the time and effort and energy into our children and our families now to protect our children, to protect our families, and make certain that the community is safe. So again, Nadine Hatten, already doing the job as your next Oakland County Circuit Court judge.